It's hard to imagine now that one of the richest authors in the world once sat in a tiny cafe, cold hands wrapped around a cup of tea she could barely afford, scribbling words that no one believed in. Her name was Joanne. To the world, she was invisible. Another struggling single mother, lost somewhere between heartbreak and survival. But inside her, a storm of imagination was fighting to be heard. This is the story of how that storm changed her destiny and ours. In the early 90s, life had broken her more than once. A marriage that had fallen apart, a newborn child in her arms, no job, no money, no hope that tomorrow would be any better than today. She carried her daughter through the icy streets of Edinburgh, searching for warmth, for a moment of peace, for a table where she could write. Sometimes she found a seat in a small café, ordered the cheapest tea, and wrote while her baby slept beside her. Those were her sacred hours, when her pain turned into words, and those words turned into magic. But the world didn't see the magic. Not yet. Publishers turned her away again and again. 12 rejections. Some said her story was too strange, too childish, too unrealistic. But she kept writing because it was all she had. Each rejection letter felt like a door slamming shut. But in her heart, a whisper kept saying, "Keep going." She poured every ounce of heartbreak, every fear, every ounce of love for her child into a story about a boy who didn't belong. A boy who slept in a cupboard under the stairs, dreaming of a world that would finally see him. Still, reality was merciless. Bills piled up. Depression deepened. She doubted herself constantly. There were nights she stared at the ceiling, wondering if she had made a terrible mistake, chasing words when she needed to chase work. She was a single mother with nothing left but her imagination. And yet, that imagination refused to die. In that darkness, her characters kept her company. They spoke to her, comforted her, gave her courage. In them, she found the strength to believe that stories could still change lives, even if her own life felt like it was falling apart. And then, one day, something changed. One publisher, a small, almost unknown press, decided to take a chance. They printed just a few hundred copies of her book. No one expected much, but those few copies began to move. One child read it, then another. Teachers read it aloud in classrooms. Bookstores started asking for more. The story spread like wildfire. The world had discovered Harry Potter. And with him, the world discovered Joanne. Her life transformed overnight. From welfare to wealth, from rejection to recognition, from loneliness to legend. Yet, even in her success, she never forgot those days in the cafe. The fear, the hunger, the tears. She knew what it meant to be unseen. That's why she wrote stories for the unseen. But the truth behind her success wasn't just luck. It was the refusal to give up when everything told her to. It was the courage to keep writing when the world said no. She didn't just write about magic, she lived it. Because magic isn't about wands or spells. It's about believing in something no one else can see. It's about turning pain into power, words into worlds, and dreams into reality. As the years went by, her books became a global phenomenon, translated into dozens of languages, loved by millions. The woman who once couldn't afford to buy a second cup of tea became one of the richest authors on earth. But her story isn't about money. It's about the miracle of persistence. There's a moment, she once said, when rock bottom becomes the solid foundation on which you rebuild your life. That's what she did. From depression came destiny. From loss came legacy. And maybe that's what her story really teaches us. That even when everything falls apart, when no one believes in you, when the world turns away, there is still one person who can choose to keep going. You. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't written on paper. They're written in survival. So, the next time you feel invisible, remember the woman who once sat in that cafe, tired, cold, and alone, and wrote her way into history. If she could turn her pain into power, maybe you can too.